I honestly think that the Knicks could beat the Heat in a second round series.
The Knicks?
Don't you tease me like that, Trista. Don't you do this to me.
Knicks,
Don't you do this.
Like, could the New York Knicks in year one
she's gonna do
of getting Jalen Brunson go to the Eastern Conference Finals?
Oh, it would be so amazing!
And then maybe play, I don't know, like a Boston Celtics team that, let's be honest, Tom Thibodeau wants to destroy. He wants to dismantle that team. There will be all these narratives about why Doc Rivers let Thibodeau go and how responsible he was for this franchise being built up. And Joe Mazzulla. By the way, what have I been saying about this rookie? What have I been saying about this wet behind the ears Bible Thumper Joe?
Yeah.
Like, Thumper Joe doesn't know what he's doing at the end of games.
Which makes the Celtics now a team that we're starting to see more of what the season's gone on, and you've seen more and more of Mazzulla as a head coach.
Him.
There's cracks.
He's too young. There's cracks. There are cracks in every single team.
Yeah.
Knicks are up 11. Trista, you're putting thoughts in my... I don't want to think about it. It's going to let me down. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to focus on this game.
I'm like, if
Damn
the
it,
Knicks
I want to see that team go back to the finals.
If the Knicks beat the Cavs tonight, then they're going to play probably the Heat, and Game 1 will be at Madison Square Garden at some
Knicks
point
Heat
soon.
all over again.
Yeah.
It won't be as good as the Alonzo
Knicks could hang out for a few days, too. I mean, if this thing goes 7, the Knicks will be chilling. Julius Randle can get his ankle back in shape.
They need him right. They need him right. It's not going to work with him being hurt the rest of the playoffs. They got to get it right.
Everybody was sleeping. Hold on, real quick. Everybody, every pundit, every writer, every person was sleeping on, except for us, the New York Knickerbockers. They were acting like Cleveland was just so much better than the New York Knicks. I'm like, I don't know, dog. Like, there's a lot of good wings on this Knicks team. They have a lot of depth. Manuel Kick quickly is no joke. Quentin Grimes is no joke. You still got Deuce McBride back there. You still got Obi Toppin there. What are we saying right now?
I mean, it's hard not to look at Bryce Young, and I know he's shorter than your typical quarterback prospect, but this guy has delivered at every level. High school, you're rising to be, one of the top quarterback recruits in the country. You're going to Alabama, winning a Heisman Trophy. The only thing he didn't do was win a national championship as a starter, but he did so many other good things. How is his game going to translate to the NFL level? I think he'll do well. I think each of the other guys, and I'm one of these people who feels very confident in C.J. Stroud. I know there's been a lot of questions lately about testing and comprehending the game. I thought he was a very efficient, consistent quarterback who showed against Georgia in his final college game what a competitor he is. And I think he's also going to do well. I have more questions about Richardson and Levis. I actually think Hendon Hooker could end up being a really good pro. The issue there is, how will he adjust to a different level of offense in the NFL? And then how is he coming off of that injury? Because, and I wrote about this a few weeks ago, he's 25 years old. He doesn't have 3 years to develop into something. He's got to hit the ground running and be a contributor right away. But the more I know about and learn about Hendon Hooker, I think he's going to be a good pro as well. Yeah, it'll be really interesting. I mean, talking to somebody in Chicago who knows about passing on good quarterbacks, like you just mentioned, and Houston, you could look back in a similar vein, but if they are not sold on Stroud or any of those other guys being true difference makers, we know that there's some difference makers on the defensive side of the ball. I think Will Anderson is one of the safest picks you can make as far as a disruptor and an elite player at the NFL level. I think Tyree Wilson is fascinating because he's got so many of the traits that NFL teams love. And talking to some coaches in the league this week, they brought that up, that the NFL loves freaky traits, and he has plenty of them. But it'll be, again, I don't see this quarterback class as talented as these guys are being maybe what next year's quarterback class will be, headlined by Caleb Williams, when I think there's more can't miss or you're close to can't miss guys at that position. So it wouldn't be completely non-justified if Houston does go with a defensive player, because I think those top end defenders, there's several of them who will be impact players right away in the NFL.
Adam, I really want to ask you about Colorado football, but it's the stupid draft, so instead I'm going to ask you about Jalen Carter.
I know, it's fascinating.
So Jalen Carter, obviously not the best workout. There's the off-the-field stuff, but I'd say he's probably the best defensive lineman prospect in a couple of years here. Do you really see him slipping out of the top 10, and do you think that he should, from just what you've seen on film on the field?
No, I don't think he's going to slip out of the top 10. And, again, NFL teams will never say this, but it is somewhat position specific when you're evaluating character. And I think that NFL teams are more willing to maybe take a risk on a defensive lineman as opposed to a quarterback. I think if he had the same exact profile at the quarterback spot, he could slip. But because he's a defensive lineman, and I think that it's less important, I would say, but still valued by a lot of teams. I just can't see him falling well below 5, if at all below 5. You look at the Seattle Seahawks and Pete Carroll. I had the NFL coach bring this up to me this week, an assistant saying, going through the list of Pete Carroll guys that he's essentially rehabbed, who had these same issues coming in and have done very well for him. Frank Clark's a good example there with the Seahawks. So I don't see him dropping past the top 10 and most likely not past number 5.
I'm just so confused how all of a sudden it is switched from the Texans needing a quarterback. Do they have a quarterback all of a sudden?
Yeah.
Davis Mills, let's go.
Did they find one in the back of their pocket, in the back of their car that I'm unaware of? It just doesn't make sense to me. I understand that position, every skill position matters in the NFL, but the Texans have not had a viable quarterback for a while now. And it's just very how do they not go quarterback number 2? How is it not CJ Stroud at number 2? I wish I had that ticket because the number has shifted a little bit, but CJ Stroud, number 2 to the Texans, how is that not a lock? It should just be automatic. It just that. That's the answer. There's a few players that I do like this week. Gary Woodland is one of them. And if you look at last year's tournament, we only have 1 year of data for the PGA playing here at Vedante Vallarta. And because of that, we know that 9 out of the top 15 players last year finished in top 10 off the tee, because this is a wide open fairway. You just bomb it. So accuracy, less important, driving distance comes into play. So players like Gary Woodland, he's first in the field for strokes gained off the tee. He's first in the field for ball striking. What's really been his kryptonite this year in 2023 is his short game. He has lost strokes in his short game in every single tournament that he has played. This is an easier course. It's definitely a much easier group of players that he's going up against. So if there's a tournament for Gary Woodland to at least finish in the top 20, plus 105 you can grab for him, 22-1 for an outright. And there's one player that I just cannot, how you and I, we loved betting certain teams in the NFL every week, even though it's don't do it. Nikolai Højgaard is that player for me right now in the PGA. I cannot stop betting him, and it hasn't been working out. I lose every week, and he starts out so strong. He's in the top 5 at the Valero Texas Open after day 1. He's in the finishes after day 3 in the top 20. Same thing when it came to match play. Not match play, sorry. The tournament last week, the pairing. He was doing well with his partner. Then he cannot finish in the 4th round. So this is a very good tournament, I believe, for him. He's one of the best players when it comes to driving distance. All of his data that he has, though, is on the European Tour. So he only has 4 tournaments total in the U.S., and he lost 3 strokes off the tee at the Valero Texas Open. But I watched him play, and that really changed my perspective of data sets. And you see a bunch of numbers, but it's different when you see these players play live. He is so good off the tee. Accuracy was a thing. That doesn't matter here. So I love Højgaard. For him to finish at least in the top 20 plus 130, definitely a better number at 30-1. And you mentioned him, Wyndham Clark. He's not one of the players that is superb off the tee, but man, he has some really solid finishes as of late. He has multiple top 5 finishes in his last 3 out of his 4 events. Something is clicking with him. Overall in his ball striking, he has one of the better iron players. He has a pretty decent short game. So just because of how consistent he's been playing, you got to bet him.
For Philadelphia, this is a good example, right? Because they kind of have everything. I mean, yeah, sure, there's needs on the defensive side of the ball. They always love pass rushers. You could draft the defensive lineman. I really like Keon White, but they'll be able to do that because they also have pick 30, you have to remember. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
It's not a wasted pick taking a running back at 10, or maybe you just hope that one of these guys slips to 30, and that's why I like over, because I think Jahmyr Gibbs goes. Because look at all these teams that need running backs or could just use running backs. Dallas, even with Tony Pollard coming back. Zeke's gone. Buffalo could always use another running back. I think they go receiver. Maybe the Bengals, because what's up with Joe Mixon? Do you really love P. Ryan as an every down back? I don't. So maybe they go after Jahmyr Gibbs. And it's another pass catcher. That's the other thing. Like, look at the skill set for both backs. They could both be 80 reception guys, too.
Right.
So I'd go over on the running backs. I think Gibbs goes, and I think, obviously, Bijan goes. And not that Charbonnet's going in the first round, but I think he might be an early second-round pick.
No, I agree with you. I love this Denver team. I think they're really good. I mean, the additions. Look, when the Suns swept them 2 years ago, two different Suns team, different Nuggets team. You can't look at that. It doesn't factor in. Jamal Murray wasn't there. Kevin Durant wasn't there. But look at Denver. I mean, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, he gives them good size. Bruce Brown's a good defensive player. You know, Porter Jr.'s playing at a high level right now. Aaron Gordon can guard anybody in the league. He's one of the elite defenders at his position. Now, the metrics may show that Denver's not a great defensive team, but that's because Jokic isn't a good defensive player. I think he hurts them with that. But this should be a much better matchup. Now, the question is, how do you trap book? Do you double book if you're Denver? Because the Clippers, man, he had 25 points in the third quarter last night. He shot 10 for 11. I mean, we've never seen him play at a level like this. But I expect that this is going to be a much better game. What I will say is stars win. Okay, in this league, your best players have to play well. You were just talking about LeBron and other guys cooking, and the Suns have great stars, and their bench, it's not good. They had to trade 3 players to get KD: Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder. And when you're paying 4 guys, when you're paying 4 guys all that money, DeAndre, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, and Kevin Durant, you don't have any money for a bench. You're paying everybody minimum. You're signing guys, buyout guys. So there's no money in the bench like there was a few years ago when they didn't have all those big contracts. I think they need him to play at a high level to win a championship. Now, I think they'll get a big boost if Milwaukee gets knocked out because I think that's their Achilles heel. I don't think they could beat Milwaukee because Drew Holiday is a great defensive player, so he could shut down Book. Giannis can guard anybody. So I think I do think Milwaukee will win 3 in a row, by the way. But I think if they get out of there, that really helps. Boston's capable of beating the Suns because they can match up and defend them. Something happened to Chris, and it was almost like the Cinderella thing when the clock turned into midnight. Like he played good against New Orleans and then was terrible against Dallas. They had a great game plan for him. He just aged so quickly right before our eyes. It benefits him now that he doesn't have to be the primary ball handler. But he's not a spot-up shooter, right? He's not a spot-up three-point shooter. So I think Chris has been good at times, like you said, in spots. I wouldn't say he's a liability, but I don't know how much of a benefit he can be.
19, I bet this exact result, so this is kind of biased because I love the price. Anthony Richardson to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Ooh.
Right? He stays in Florida. He's a project. He's fun. He has a huge upside. You want people to care there in Florida about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers because if they suck, nobody's going to games.
Yeah.
And
they got spoiled over the last couple of years,
Plus 700 for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to take a quarterback, first drafted player.
And you could even just do that if you don't want to take a shot with Anthony Richardson. It's just like you have Baker Mayfield. He's clearly not the answer.
How dare you?
But he
did
could
you
start,
see what he did with the Rams?
I did.
He's coming back.
I did. But
let's go.
But he could start for 2 years, and that's probably what Anthony Richardson needs, 2 or 3 years.
Yep.
So I think that this would be a really good fit for Anthony Richardson, and they still have talent in Tampa Bay. So I got him going 19 to the Bucs. At 20.